Hello students. In this video we're going to show you how to take a problem given to you in words and turn it into a problem written in algebra. Now in real life when you're working with algebra you're not very often actually given an algebraic equation to solve. What you're given is a problem to solve, and the problem is usually expressed in English. It could be either spoken to you or it could be written down. And therefore, the first thing you have to do is actually take the problem given to you in English and rewrite it as a problem in algebra. And then you can use all the power of algebra to solve the problem. So here's an introduction to how we do that. You'll be doing a lot of this over the years that you're studying algebra. So we'll start with some relatively simple little problems. Okay, Pete has B blue pens. Now, once again, we don't know how many pens Pete actually has, so we'll use the variable B to stand for the number of pens. And he also has our red pens. Once again, we don't know exactly how many red pens he has, so we need to use a different variable for the number of red pens. Sue has 3 times as many blue pens as Pete and 2 fewer red pens than Pete. Okay, first question. Write an expression for the number of pens that Pete has in total. Well, in total means we have to add the number of blue pens plus the number of red pens. So in this case, we don't write an answer. We don't write a number because we can't write a number. We write an algebraic expression. So it's B plus R. So in algebra, you're not writing an answer in the sense of being able to say exactly how many pens Pete has. What you're writing is the expression that tells you how to find it. Now, if we have the additional information that Pete has 16 pens to start with, we can then say, well, now we know that B plus R must add up to 16. And once we have the equal sign in it, we do have an equation and not an expression. Okay, third one, write an expression for the number of blue pens that Sue has. Well, Sue has 3 times as many blue pens as Pete. If Pete has B blue pens, Sue has B times 3. But algebraic conventions say we write the number first and we don't write the multiply sign. So the correct way to write the expression for that is 3b. Sue has 2 fewer red pens than Pete. Well, Pete has R red pens. If she has 2 fewer, that means we're going to have to subtract. So the implication is 2 fewer pens, it's R minus 2. If she has 28 pens altogether, well, she's got 3B blue pens. Altogether implies that we add. So she has R take 2 red pens. And we know that together those terms add to 28. I like to sometimes write the brackets around expressions like this to show that they were sort of linked in the original question. You also could have just written 3b plus r minus 2 and gotten the same answer. And the last question on this page, if Pete loses 4 of his pens, write an expression in terms of b and r to show how many pens he has now. Well, he did have, before losing the pens, he did have b plus r. And again, we can bracket that or not bracket that as we wish. And he's lost 4 pens, so the number of pens he has now is b plus r minus 4. Or if you prefer to write it without the brackets, b plus r minus 4 without brackets. Okay, I want you to try the questions on the next page, please. So Nerida has W watches and R rings. Donna has twice as many watches, but 2 fewer rings than Nerida. So go ahead, please, and answer the questions on this page. So stop the video, have a go, and then we'll check your answers. Okay, welcome back. Well, let's get stuck into this. An expression for the number of watches and rings she has all together. Again, the implication is we write The number of watches is W plus the number of rings is R. So the expression for the number of watches and rings is W plus R. Once again, the expression tells us how we find it. Now, if we know that the total number of watches and rings is 8, we can then write the equation W plus R equals 8. What about an expression for the number of watches that Donna has? Well, she has 2 times as many watches as Nerida. If Nerida has W watches, Donna's going to have 2 times W, which we just write as 2W. Okay, in the next question, we're asked to write an equation. So we know the total number, write an expression for the number of watches that Donna has is 2W. I think I better fix up my mistake there. It's not a mistake if you fix it, by the way. Write an expression for the number of watches that Donna has, that's 2W. Write an expression for the number of rings that Donna has. She's got 2 fewer than Nerida, so that's going to be R subtract 2. Now we're ready to do this question. We know that the number of watches, 2W, plus the number of rings, R minus 2. In this case, we know that it equals 14. So we're given that information just there. And again, you can write it without the brackets. And okay, last question. If Nerida loses 2 of her rings, write an expression in terms of W and R to show how many watches and rings Nerida has now. Well, the expression for how many she has now is W plus R. And she loses 2 of her rings, so W plus R take 2. And again, you might want to bracket that to show that that is what she started with, and then she's lost 2. Okay, have a go at the last set of questions, please. In fact, we'll probably just discuss these. I'd say just have a think about them, then we'll just do them verbally. Okay, let's get started. Andrew has Y pencils in his pencil case. Dina has Y plus 7 pencils in her pencil case. What does this mean? Well, if Andrew has Y, Dina has Y plus 7, she has 7 more pencils than Andrew. So I won't write it in a full sentence, I'll just write a shortcut version. Simon has 2 Y pencils in his pencil case. Well, if Andrew has Y and Simon has 2Y, he has double the number of pencils. And finally, Cindy has 2Y take 2 pencils in her pencil case, and Simon has 2Y pencils in her pencil case. Does she have more or fewer pencils than Simon? Well, if you compare 2Y and 2Y minus 2, she has 2 fewer, because you're subtracting 2 from the number of pencils that Simon had. Well, there we have it. That's a very, very quick introduction to going from questions worded in English and writing the equivalent algebraic expressions or equations.